I'd like to start by saying that I don't think there is any ambiguity or subjectiveness to what the debate or what the protests are about. It's pretty clear that the players' peaceful protests are important. Because of them, almost every day of the week, we talk about racial disparities. People across the country are suddenly thinking about what it must feel like to be a person of color, watch an officer shoot an unarmed man, and walk away with a pension. And every time someone takes a knee or raises a fist, viewers must grapple with the why, with the uncomfortable reality that our country daily marginalizes thousands of people in impoverished communities. And it brings it up in conversation, and it puts it in the forefront of media, and it's active. There's not an article that's written about the protest that doesn't mention social injustice, racial inequalities, or police brutality. That's the forefront of what it all is. And now I'd like to acknowledge the subjectiveness that my partner and I find in patriotism. We believe that what the protesters are doing is patriotic, and I'll give you an example to illustrate that. When a professional team wins its championship, Super Bowl, World Series, whatever it is, they are invited to the White House to be recognized and to celebrate with the president. And in this most recent Super Bowl, when the New England Patriots won, they're the Patriots too. They have 53 members on their active roster, and only 34 members attended this celebration. And those players were interviewed heavily. It was in the forefront of media. Why didn't you go? What was it all about? And they all either answered that I didn't feel welcome in that house, or I did not agree with the administration that was in place. And those people were unanimously regarded as patriotic and as having fidelity to their own beliefs and their own ideals, and instead of blindly being loyal to the flag, actually questioning it and trying to make sense of it and trying to make a call for us to be better. And another thing I'd like to acknowledge, according to John Legend from the Slate, the President of the United States loves to drape himself in the symbols of patriotism, but fails to respect the ideals at the core of our Constitution and national identity. Trump may love the flag, but he doesn't love anything that it is supposed to stand for. So I think it's really easy to just use that flag as a defense, or that you're disrespecting the country, but I think it's unlawful to just let those things by. If our actions as a country aren't aligned with our ideals that our flag is supposed to represent, then that's unpatriotic, and it would be unlawful for you to just let that happen and do nothing about it. It has to be an active effort to combat it and to make our country better and actually identify with what is going on. Finally, I'd like to end by saying that according to Nick Wright from Fox Sports 1, this is a protest about whether or not the country has fulfilled its promise of equal protection under the law to all its citizenry. And that conversation is one that no one wants to have. That conversation is uncomfortable for people, so people literally drape themselves in the flag as a defense of it. And the reason for me mentioning this is that, the protest is purposeful, and because the conversation is uncomfortable, it's really easy for a lot of people to just disregard it or just mention that, the protest is the problem, the protest is the problem. But in reality, I think that the actions of our country speak volumes of why the protest is happening. And I think that it's necessary to bring this conversation up, and it's not easy to, and this is one of the few forms in which it's acceptable to based off our First Amendment rights. Thank you.